Hello and welcome back to RIFC Nation. I'm your host, Matt. It's been a while since I've done one of these. This is episode 9. I've missed some time. I was out in Florida with the family, but this will be a pretty welcome change as it's not just me and my ugly mug that you're seeing on this one. I've got Ryan Healy joining me for this. And if you've listened at all, you know he always gives a really succinct and great 3 points on Reddit. So, Ryan, happy to have you. How's everything going, my friend?
Good, Matt. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. A complete honor to be on here after the first RAFC win. So hard to be having a bad week after that.
That'd be cool. I wanted to do something different, so it wasn't just my, my homily based on what I thought. And I watched it at home. Yeah, like I said, I was traveling, so I'd just gotten back, and I was just Disney kicked my ass. I was too exhausted to make it to the guild, but I was glad to see that was a good turnout. Before we do get started, just a reminder: you can find RAFC Nation on all of your favorite podcast apps like Apple and Spotify, or you can check out the YouTube channel, and there's a link in this episode description to find everything. Um, Before we kind of talk about the 2-1 win over the Lights of Las Vegas, what's been kind of like your high point of the season and you going to matches and watching matches so far?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. Number one, like the community around the team. I mean, I think you with RIFC Nation doing such a good part of that. The guys over at Raising Anchors, Irvin and the 36ers. I just think there's this great community building around the club, which it's hard to ignore, but also so much fun to participate in. And it's really building that, that culture around the club that we hope that can keep building over the years. I've also been super just impressed with the off the field team. Going to the game, I think the first week especially, I think I wrote in like I was just so impressed with how flawlessly they've executed, especially being at a stadium that they're not even own. It's not going to be theirs forever, but the off the field team has just done a great job. Marketing the club, making sure the at the match experience has been great. The Defiance, chanting, doing a phenomenal job bringing that atmosphere. So yeah, just being part of that community, being part of that club has been great. And then seeing the club kind of work through these early growing pains. I think each match has been a little different, has brought a little bit of newness to this. And I think as the team, the culture, everything around the club grows, we have to remember that this team is growing on the field right before our eyes as well.
That's really well said. The sense of community. I always talk with Matt from Raising Anchor and Kevin from the Quahog Corner.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll mention him when we talk subs later on in this one. But
Wonder who.
the three of us talk a lot. I was actually supposed to join them for their joint episode, but Florida reservations got me out of it. So looking forward to definitely teaming up with those two in the near future. But a pretty familiar starting 11 versus Las Vegas. We saw Lee and Net, Turnbull, Nodarse, Yao, Alves, Holstad, Brito, Ibarra, Quizera, Dequa, and Fuzon. Kind of what we're going to expect from this. I think this lineup and starting rotation going forward. And I think the Open Cup loss, which I gladly did not podcast about being away. I watched on my phone actually in Disney Springs, and my son and I were following along, and it was a long, agonizing wait. But I think that match, yeah, I think that match kind of showed us why this starting 11 essentially picks itself. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Do I think all of those starting 11 covered themselves in glory during that game? No, but I think it. One thing that did come out of that though, that was a positive for me though, was I thought the wingbacks were really interesting that game. Messer and Colin Smith starting. I thought those were the two that, if you said, some of the people are going to really make a claim for a starting bid, those were the people who did. But I think the rest of the squad kind of showed that still work in progress for sure. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think Messer and Smith are probably our two best defensive options, at least coming off the bench, and maybe just options in general. I wish we could change up the midfield and get a little bit more production out of it right now, but that's still very much a work in progress. As you said, it's still growing before our eyes. But I think I've mentioned it. We lack that number 10, and I think JJ is going to be the closest we get to that, and that's going to essentially be as a false nine. At least how I would see it. Or I could see Noah slotting in and playing the 10 and creating some chances because he's just a superb passer and highly skilled on the ball. But I agree with you. I think those two with Smith and Messer are definitely the two that can see themselves playing into more time as the season goes on. the first half in Vegas started, I think, as hot as it was out there. It was 86 degrees, and as burnt as that pitch was, with it just was not in good condition. Very interesting stadium with that whole green monster set up behind the net. I know somebody referenced that on the Discord, and very very empty. FOTMob had it listed at 1943 for the attendance. I think that might be generous, but the first half saw us get going. Although Las Vegas outpossessed us 59% to 41. We outshot them 7-4 with 2 on target to their 1. Created 4 big chances, had 3 corners, and it was a pretty solid first half performance, and really kind of capped off with that 25th minute goal from David Turnbull. And this was a great lead up to that goal. I thought, Ryan, you saw Fuson break down the left flank, slot one across goal. I think it was Dequa that crashed on it and missed it, but Turnbull was Mr. Right spot at the right time. What were your thoughts overall on that first half, and particularly that goal?
Yeah, so I know that Kano just got some awesome news that he was manager of the week, coach of the week this week. And I actually rewatched the first half before this, and I have to give him a huge credit. I think, at first you're saying, oh, it's his first win. You got it because of that. But he actually made some really interesting tweaks to how we built up and how we played, that I thought absolutely affected how good we were in that first half. Any manager, their goal is to make the team to really highlight what they're really good at and reduce their flaws. And he put in a kind of a new style, I thought, that did a great job. So when I first saw the team sheet come out, I saw Yao as that center back, and I think some people saw on in Discord, I was a little afraid. Being that center back, you usually expect that to be someone a little more pacey, a little more technical, being that sweeper role. And I don't know if we would all consider Yao to be that guy, but I noticed that what Kano had the team do is he kept the outside center backs really close to him at all times, and then Jackson was there, so it made it really easy for him to make a quick pass, get it done, and focus on what he's good at, which is being a good defender. So I was really impressed with that. And then I also noticed that we didn't play out from the back at all. And again, it helps because when we lose Clay to the midfield, which I think is a positive, you do lose someone who's really good with their feet. So
Sure.
I think the game plan was really, hey, let's take what we're really good at, which is ball recoveries in the final third, getting those turnovers in the final third. And Jackson was just pumping up there, and we were that was really starting a lot of what we wanted to do. So I thought it was a couple of really great tweaks by Kano that got us going. And then, having people like Fuson with those kind of cutbacks, getting the ball actually in the box, which is something we haven't been doing. Both of our goals came that way. So just overall, there were some really nice tweaks that Kano and team made over the week that I was super impressed with.
Right. So, for the listeners, worth mentioning that you have a Gooner and a Spurs supporter in here. So I'm going to use the center back kind of comparison that, I grew up in the cat versus dog defenders. Are you familiar with that comparison at all? The cat versus dog
No.
center backs. So the dogs are those ones that are going to, put in those crunching challenges, kind of the alpha, and that is Karifa Yao. And we saw that very much so in the first home match. The cats are, and I'll bring a Spurs analogy. This was Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld to a T. The cats are a little more smooth on the ball, and that's Gabriel Alves. He has a pretty deft first touch. That we've seen some incredible turns from him, and he plays a really good ball forward. And no, Darce, he's kind of a hybrid. He's kind of a mix in there, and I thought he did really well off it was one of the set pieces, one of the corners where he headed the ball to keep it in and ended up getting a shot off of it. He's a tall kid. He's fast, so he's able to get up forward, and he's able to cover some ground. I've been more impressed with him over his last few minutes than earlier on in the season, and I think that if we can kind of solidify Nodarse, Yao, and Alves as that 3, that it's going to be strong because, like you said, Connor Smith winning and making some tweaks, no tweak bigger than getting your best midfielder actually into the midfield. I think that just, helps and will only help this team get better. Clay's vocal out there. He's that deep lying playmaker. He defends well. He tackles well. He's kind of that jack of all trades in the midfield, which we don't have right now. And that allows Ibarra and Brito to get a little bit further forward. So, hopefully we can nail this down. And I guess while we're on this and kind of guys, playing in the right spots, we did see Koke Vegas available on the bench. I know I talked a little bit and kind of teased it a little bit on my last episode that I had on. Do we have, a quarterback controversy or a goalkeeper controversy, if you will?
Yeah, so I think this is funny being a Gooner, as you mentioned. With there's our we've had our drama this year with our two goalkeeper situation. I actually think this is a blessing in disguise for Kano. Which, to be clear, you don't want to lose your captain, your first signing, your number one. But having a very capable backup, number one, is a great squad building strategy by the team. But it also allows Kano to come in and say, "Listen, this guy was team of the week 2 weeks in a row. He's in great form. We're every person on this team has the ability to earn their place in this team by playing well." And it gives all those guys on the bench fighting for a spot that extra motivation. It raises the standards for the whole team, saying, you have to play well to keep your spot. So, personally, I think until Jackson loses it, he should inherit his spot. But I also know that is not a shared opinion by everybody. Yeah,
Yeah,
what do you think?
I'm with you on that one. I think, to kind of give a New England sports comparison right now, you look at the Boston Bruins and they're rotating goalies in the playoffs, and it didn't really work well for them last night. So
Mhm.
I think you kind of ride the hot hand, and why not ride Jackson Lee? I think Koke Vegas is here for maybe a couple years tops, but Jackson Lee could very much be the number one long term, or he could be a very marketable and sellable, if you will, asset to generate some income for this team to further strengthen the squad. So you have to play him while he's hot, and he's earning his keep out there. Um, Second half, we did notice a little regression to the mean, I'll say, as far as performance. It was pretty dominant possession wise. LA had 60% to our 40. They took 8 shots, 3 on target, created 2 big chances, and had 6 corners to R3. We very much saw white knuckle time, RIFC, hold on and try to get out of this one. And it worked. But how nervous were you in that second half that we were going to walk away from Las Vegas with another draw?
Oh, man. So in the moment, I mean, we were all on Discord, all losing our minds. I mean, I definitely didn't feel good, but at the same time, it is a privilege that we actually got to try to sweat out a win for once. And that's going to happen. Again, we're a team that has literally zero experience trying to protect the lead, so can't expect it to go great. Do I expect these professional players to do a couple smarter things along the way? Maybe get to the corners more, maybe string together a couple of passes. Would have loved that. But at the same time, I thought they were really professional. A lot of really good professional fouls, professional yellows. Really trying to break up the tempo. And I think too, with first versus second half, we have to give the team a lot of credit. I mean, going from 120 minutes in Charlotte, which I know that Vegas had the same thing, but also going to Vegas where it was 90 degrees.
Right.
Vegas was always going to have an advantage there. They've been training in the desert this whole time. We've been training in 40 degrees and raining. So it was always going to be a really tough one for us anyway. So you have to give the team credit. They didn't give up a ton of chances. There was the one uh, really bad one where Jackson tried to clear it, went straight to the midfield and gave up that big chance. But other than that, they took a lot of shots outside the 18, stuff that I would feel comfortable giving up. So watching it a second time was a little bit easier knowing the outcome, but definitely was, like you said, white knuckle time for sure.
Right. So we mentioned Kev in the Quahog corner earlier on. The first sub of this one was Kofi Chumasi coming on in the 62nd minute for Brito, and our good friend Kev was going through it in the Discord. He was basically, "This is on Kano if it doesn't work." But I think Chumesi's best play was the hold up down near the corner flag in the end. An interesting sub to say the least. I know we were struggling for creativity. We've been struggling for creativity all season in the middle of the pitch. Chumesi also didn't really seem to impress versus Charlotte. So, what did you make of this one, and kind of how he came on, and what did you see that sub for?
Yeah, I think it was really just for legs. I mean, if you look at the bench, there wasn't a ton on there from like pure midfielders. I know we have, Sadie on there who, could provide a bit of pace, and Kevin Vang, things like that. But I think from like a pure, like we need someone who can hopefully string together a few passes. I think he was the most likely option to do so. Was I impressed with him in the Charlotte game? I wasn't. But at the same time, again, to play devil's advocate, I don't know that Kano can just ditch bench options, after one performance in one game. I do think he has to give his guys a chance. He's seeing them in practice week in and week out. So you have to hope that there's something there that he's liking. But at the end of the day, it's too early for us to cross guys' names out on the bench. And, we're only rolling with 2, 3 subs that we actually feel confident in. We have to try to use the squad, especially in a week like we just had.
Absolutely. One other point I want to mention, as far as what I think was a key to winning this, was the absolute rattling of Ricky Alba, Las Vegas Lights #9. How he stayed on the pitch with just a yellow was absolutely beside me. He got more warnings than I could count and keep track of. But this dude was rattled. He was all riled up, and he missed some sitters kind of in the second half there.
I mean, there was a point that, like I mentioned, that one uh, play where Jackson kind of missed his clearance attempt, hits it
That
right
was
to
Alba
them.
that got the chance off that, right?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
our best defender on the night at some points. I mean, I could not believe it, and he threw the guy who was there right behind him completely off by whiffing. It was unbelievable. But yeah, I honestly couldn't believe how many chances he got, but how no one on his team could get in his ear enough to be like, dude, like you're on your
Lock in.
orange card right now.
Right. Like I said, more warnings than anyone I've ever seen. We had 3 more subs in this one. Colin Smith and Mark Doyle came on in the 71st minute, and then Messer came on in the 83rd to help shore things up and see it out, and we sure did need that. Uh, I know you listen, so I'm going to give my top 3 players, and then I'll give you a chance to kind of rank yours. But I'm pretty straightforward with mine this week. My number 3, I'm actually going with Jose Quizera. I thought he was a real injection. I thought this was his best game so far. He had a 7.6 on FOTMob. Thought he was just kind of all over the place down that left flank. 83 minutes, pretty long and solid shift for that one. Number 2 for me was Noah Fuzan, just 8.2 on FOTMob. Obviously, the goal, the assist, was kind of bummed that he didn't make the USL Team of the Week. I thought the goal and the assist kind of deserved that in helping RIFC to the first win. And my man of the match, my son's favorite player, was Turnbull, 8.3 on FOTMob. Had the goal. I just love the energy and passion he plays with. He's fiery, yells in people's faces. Just a top performance. And I know opinions kind of split on him. People either seem to really like him or just kind of be like, what does he offer? But he's got MLS experience. I think it's good to see a goal from a wingback for us. Just knowing that we are going to play this 3-5-2 until it doesn't work, and if it doesn't work, we're still going to play the 3-5-2. So I think Turnbull is probably the best attacking piece out there. Good to see him getting amongst the goals. So who do you got for your top 3?
Yeah, so actually, I have a very similar one, but I'm just going to change my number 3 here, and I have to give it to Albert Diqua. Chico. He I didn't notice it the first watch. Obviously you're watching, you're stressed out, you're kind of paying attention to stuff. But he really put in a shift for us this game. He was picking up the ball in midfield. He was making tackles.
The hold up play was second to none.
Yes, and I thought this was by far the best game. Our front 2 especially, but even front 3 really played together. I mean, him and Fusan were really kind of, especially in that first half, really playing off each other so well, getting tight to each other. One was coming, especially Dequa coming short, getting that ball, spinning it to Fusan. That was exactly how the first goal was made. I mean, I really thought, especially the 2 of them, were really fantastic, and it just makes you really excited about, hey, you plug JJ in there, and now you have these 3 guys who can really create, really all do a lot of different things. Well. So very excited. So I had Deepa as my number 3. I have a feeling he's going to be in this top 3 many, many times
Sure.
throughout the season. And I actually had a very similar 2 for you. So to Fusan, definitely. I think he just oozes technique, he just makes me feel good when the ball's going to him. I feel like he's going to do something with it. And I just feel very confident when he has it. And then finally,
Dequa might be our best player, but he might be our most important Fuzan. Like, it's just what he brings on the ball is like nothing else we have.
I said this on the Call Hog Corner the other night, but I really think he should get a shout at that number 10 creator position. And I think Kano might be thinking similarly. I know that one game he did play Fusan in the midfield when it was kind of the first, kind of one of the only times he's really mixed it up with with having Doyle up front. So we'll see, obviously, as time goes on. But I just think he is so talented, and I think we're just going to really see that come alive, especially when he has more people to play with up top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We'll turn to some of the listener comments. We'll just pretty much on Reddit for this one. We had SM Shad say, "Our first win, finally. So happy how Fuzan played today. He deserved his goal finally." I think a lot of us felt that way. He had the offside one pulled back. He just played so well and done so
That
many
one
things
was
for us.
really close.
It was
Really,
closer.
really close.
It was closer than I thought in watching it back.
Mhm.
Live, I kind of thought he was off, but it was much closer going back to it. SM Shad also added, and way more entertaining to follow than the Revs this season. People are missing out on this. And somebody commented, they won't be for long if the Revs keep being so trash. But, I guess kind of while we're on that, we can take a minute to discuss the kind of all the media slander. And I know there's a tweet, was it WPRI 12 tweet? And a lot of people just going back and forth on that and about the attendance dropping. Obviously, there's Go Local, which is a swear word in our Go Local Prov, which is a swear word in the Defiance Discord. But
I
you
don't do
know,
that in my household.
it just sucks that so many people are dead set against this team for political reasons. And there was some guy, basically an anonymous profile trying to troll me on my response to it. Like I wouldn't go because soccer sucks. So like, how do you make so many negative comments when you're not even going to go at all? Like, why speak on it? So for me, it's just, I get it, it's politics, it's people look at it as taxpayer dollars, but like you mentioned earlier, the sense of community the club is creating, the fan culture is already outstanding, and anyone who's traveled and come to a RIFC game from another club has said like how special it feels, for us. But what's kind of your take on all this media hate and spite for this club?
Yeah, I mean, always grown up here, like that was always going to happen, and especially now. I mean, unfortunately, the way, especially the internet works, like the way that you get clicks and views is that you say something negative to rile people up. So I try to ignore it because I know I can see when going to the games, I can see talking to people, even like friends of mine who could care less about soccer. They're hearing about this. They're hearing kind of more of the things that we're feeling. So I'm hoping that that message is getting out there more than this local media attention. But yeah, unfortunately, people are going to try to stir the pot. People are going to try to bring these things down. But at the end of the day, like the team is trying to build something. They're trying to bring something to the state. We lost the Paw Sox. We lost, more of these minor league teams. I think someone posted a Reddit article earlier. I saw some great comments in there about how even following like the P Bruins is a little tough because you don't know who's going to get called up, who's going to go here, there, everywhere. Whereas like this is a team we can all follow, fall in love with, and grow with. So really hoping that over time this team can really win people's hearts and minds through how they play, through what they do in the community, and show their action that way. Because unfortunately, there's always going to be these negative stories, negative opinions, especially like you said when a bit of politics gets involved, and also a sport that historically in this state and in this country hasn't always gotten a fair shake. So
Right. I think the one negative comment that I read that I can actually kind of agree with is, and it's not so much about the club, it's more based on the league, and it's the start times of the game. So like you're playing a 7:30 game on a Friday night and 7:30 games on Saturday nights. Like you obviously, Rhode Island FC obviously wants this to be a family friendly club, and they're doing a lot of kids stuff before the games, the fan fest, the giveaways, and all that. And I have a kindergartner and he comes to games, but like, on a Friday night, it's tough because he plays soccer on Saturday morning. So,
yep.
I know that, we might make the first half this Friday. He's going to want to stay. So we'll obviously see how that goes. It, but like but that's more of a league issue than I think it is RIFC. And I think people kind of look at that and, blame the club for that. But I think that's the league that's setting the times. Obviously, with teams from coast to coast, you're going to have different time gaps, and just like Major League Baseball, like you go out to West Coast, for us it's a 10 o'clock game, so you're going to see those different time gaps, and that's not on the league. But that's the one thing I wish the USL, with their, I think the steps are there, it's in place for it to be a very successful league. Could it ever take over the MLS? Maybe. MLS is kind of turning into that retirement tour thing, that like, I think that's kind of, I think some people are excited about it, obviously in south of Florida because of who they get, and in LA. But like for most clubs who aren't going to spend that kind of money on those designated players, um, people aren't going to those games. People aren't watching those games. So attendances are dying out in those big stadiums versus if they set up this pyramid scheme and promotion relegation in the USL, I think the true soccer fans and the soccer community are going to like that a lot better than going and seeing some retirement tour players, I'll call it. But, I think there is a model for success there for the USL to kind of win over much of the active soccer fans. Does that make sense?
For sure, and like, what a time to do it with the World Cup coming here. With we can coast off the messy vibes down in South Florida, but
Sure.
it's just a sport that I think is only going to continue to grow. It's getting more popular just from TV ratings over even watching games over the Premier League. So definitely a sport that's going to continue to grow, and hopefully the USL can really be smart about how they continue to market the game, how they continue to set up things like Pro Rel, which I know so many of us want in this country, and just can hopefully just build that organic growth over time.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We got two more on Reddit. We have Please Stand By, who said, great to see a win, and on short rest. This is a solid team. Those turnovers in the last 20-ish minutes have to go, but this is a time to celebrate, not nitpick. And some of those giveaways are just, very avoidable and need to go. When I talk to people who, haven't watched this team yet, I say like, before this one, when we hadn't won a game, it was very much, like all these draws are good because you're still getting a point, but like
Mhm.
this team is good. Like there is a lot of talent on this team. They're fun to watch, and hopefully the first win will be the spark of many more to come. And then the
Absolutely.
the last one on Reddit was from you. Let's go. First half was the best we played all season. We did a much better job having sustained bouts of possession and looked much sharper in the final third due to the front three combining really well. I think we saw a bit of the potential of this group when we can roll out Chico, Fuzan, and JJ when he's fit. While I don't love we continue being so wing dominant in the final third, I think we found a better path forward through the cutbacks rather than crosses to create higher potential chances. We only hit on 3 of our 19 crosses this game, 16%, and ranked 20th in the league this season in percentage of accurate crosses with 2 average height guys up front. I don't think it's the best way forward for the squad. Definitely agree with you there. Would love to see the boys see the game out in a more professional manner, but that will come with more experience of the team closing out wins. Up the tide. You still with all that?
Yeah, I really agree with that last guy, especially. But yeah, I mean, I almost wish I was a little less the crosses thing. Like, yeah, we'll talk about. You can read all my old comments for that. But yeah, I definitely want to reiterate how happy I was for the team and how excited I was for them. So, uh, yeah, the crossing, the wing backs, it's definitely something that it's not my preferred way to play, but I think there is a way for us to really take advantage of what this team has and the really good qualities. Just like again, those tweaks that Kano made that I didn't see the first time I saw it today, rewatching it. I hope the team can continue to learn, build, and just keep getting better at creating those chances. 'Cause I think we've started to iron out the defensive portion there, and yeah, again, just growing, learning. That's all you want from this team.
That's it. And building through the spine always seems to work success for teams. So uh, that'll definitely help us out in the long run. Next up is Friday night, April 26th, 7:30 at home versus last year's champions, the Phoenix Rising FC. They have 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw in their last 5. They defeated Oakland 1-0. And Colorado 1-0, and most recently lost 3-1 at home to Pittsburgh. That I saw that as a surprising
Gross.
one. This is a team with you know, kind of struggling, not the success you would have expected out of a reigning champ. They have a -3 goal differential. They've played 7 games. They're on 7 points. We have the 7 points on just 6 games. It's time to get bold and make those predictions. How do you see this one shaking out?
Yeah, I mean, I think the team is going to keep building on their momentum. I see this as I think I predicted a 3-1 uh, scoreline for the Rhode Island FC in the Discord. I think it seems as though Pittsburgh, they actually were pretty similar so far in a lot of statistics, but I think that again, our high press it really is our standout metric of everybody in the league, and I'm hoping that we can force those turnovers and really keep creating and turning those into chances, which we saw us do a lot better in this last game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go a little bit more conservative. I'm gonna go 2-1, and I think RIFC win. And I'm usually a little more pessimistic than most in my predictions, and get some flack for it in the Discord. But I think 2-1. I think we get our first home win. It's gonna be $5 beer night. Have you had the guild beer
Oh
yet?
yeah, I picked up a couple 4 packs today. It came out, and they're delicious. Definitely,
Nice.
if you're listening or watching, definitely go try some. They're great.
Yeah, I was out of town, so I was, didn't want to get it and just have it sit. So I'm excited to get rolling on that. But I think 2-1. I think we get the first win, and I think we kind of go on a nice run and hit a big green patch going forward here. And I think that can help carry us up the standings, and will be very good leading into when we make the trip to Hartford. Did you buy Hartford tickets?
I've not yet, but everyone on Quahog Corner got me real excited about it. So definitely have to do that soon.
I brought one for me and my son. We're gonna make the trip. We're gonna travel. I
Love
think it's either my birthday or anniversary weekend, or like the one after. So hopefully the wife doesn't flip when I kind of tell her I'm taking
I
him to
appreciate it's your
Hartford.
birthday weekend, and you're kind of like, I think it might be. Not sure.
Well, my wife and I have the same birthday, so
Oh, yeah. Okay.
it's dicey.
Yeah.
It's dicey, but hey, it is what it is. We'll figure it
Darby.
out.
Darby.
Um, I know we've referenced the Discord on here. Even if you're not a member of the Defiance and you listen to the podcast, you can go and join the Discord. It's just a great connection between fans on there. Talk a lot about what's going on pregame and stuff like that. So you can find the link. I think the best place to find it would be in the Reddit, and the Rhode Island FC Reddit. Or you can also just, I think it's RI Defiance 1636.com. Google it, search it. They do a great job. Irvin does a great job. And if you need other podcasts to listen to get your fix, check out the Call Hog Corner on Monday nights on Twitter. Do you call it X, or are you still calling it Twitter?
I will never call that.
I've never called it X, so I'm going to continue to have that debate with myself every time I say it on here. And then you can also check out Raising Anchor on all of your favorite podcast platforms. But looking forward to Friday night. Ryan, maybe we can get together at halftime or something and throw up a short little video. Kind of keep this going, get it rolling
Love
going
that.
forward while we have some of those Guild Bears, right?
Perfect.
Yeah, this has been fun. Definitely thank you for joining. It's a lot more fun talking to someone else than kind of looking at myself and talking to myself. So I appreciate you taking the time out to join. Hopefully we can do this a little bit more regularly. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, I just want to say thanks again for having me. This was really fun. Love chatting RAFC with whoever will listen to me, and yeah, I've loved what you've been doing with this podcast, with just being in the community, getting the word out about this team. So yeah, just want to say thanks for that, and really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that, Ryan. Just a reminder, if you're listening, you can also watch this on YouTube. And if you're watching, you can also listen on the podcast. Click that link below. If you are watching this on the YouTube, click that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. One final thought that I have that I forgot to bring up that was kind of in my brain. First match that we committed less fouls than the other team. It was 11-8 in fouls for Vegas. So the discipline issue, which has been discussed on here a bit, seemingly improving a bit. And I think that was mostly due to our good friend, the number 9 there, Ricky Alba, kind of
Oh yeah,
ratcheting up the falls for Las Vegas. But thanks again for tuning in. Make sure you click the link, check out all of the social media accounts, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time, hopefully talking another Rhode Island FC win, as we just discussed the club's first win in history. I've been your host, Matt. For Ryan, it's been a good time. We'll see you next time. Up the tide.
up with that.